Hi, welcome B-Siders to another episode of my podcast. I'm really thrilled you're here and always appreciate you tuning in and opening your earbuds and your eyes as well, obviously, if you're watching it, to listening what I've got to say and what my guests have to share with you. Today, I am joined by an amazing human being from the other side of the world, from the States, and she is truly amazing, and you will find out very shortly why. But just to give you a little bit of a short, quick intro, and then I'll let her fill in the blanks where I might have missed something. But Emma G is my guest today, and she is hello. She's an award-winning musician, she's an author, and she's also a youth empowerment coach. Now we're going to dive into that a little bit more because that is super interesting what she does. And I think you all really want to know what that entails. And also how she got to that point is truly amazing. So there's a lot of health battles involved. I think 10 brain surgeries from memory.
Yeah. Only 10.
Only 10, yeah. All right, only 10. Yeah. And this whole path has led her to where she is today, and her passion is youth empowerment through songwriting. So that's really in a nutshell what Emma G is about. I'll hand it over to you, Emma. Is there anything else you want to mention that you feel is really important before we dive into?
Well, I want to clarify one thing, because you said I was from the other side of the world, as in
that's
America,
where you're based.
But I'm not. I'm actually from. That is where I'm based. Yeah. But I am your neighbour. I am from New Zealand. But no, I've been in Washington DC for almost 7 years now.
Yes, and if you listen a little bit, you can hear the New Zealand accent still.
Yes, a little bit. It's funny. Everybody in New Zealand thinks I sound super American. Everybody in America is like, where are you from? You're not from around these parts. But yeah. So yes, I am a youth empowerment through songwriting coach. I am a singer, songwriter, author, podcaster, doer of many things that I am passionate about. But I grew up in a small town, New Zealand, town called Raglan. Got into songwriting at a very young age because I felt like I needed an outlet. I needed something to help me express myself when you have your first brain surgery at the age of 4 months. And, you know, I think you kind of, I mean, as a child, I didn't really understand that, obviously, but I always knew there was something different, always something that was a little bit off, or, you know, I was very precocious. I was very loud, still am very loud. Probably am still quite precocious as well, to be fair. But, you know, I was never one to really fit into the jigsaw puzzle, you know what I mean? And so what do you do when you don't feel like you are understood? You try to find other ways to be heard, other ways to try and find your place. And for me, the thing that most made sense was to write music. Everybody loves music. Everybody loves songs. I'm sure you remember being in high school and primary school and turning up your favorite tunes, especially when you were feeling some type of way. You know, I from a very young age decided I want to turn up other people's music, sure, and sing along and have them tell my story, because, you know, they know how I feel. But you know who else knows how I feel? Me. Can I write my own songs? Can I write my truth into something that helps me to express myself, and maybe even helps other people to understand me better, or to understand themselves better? So that's what I did from the age of 5. I wrote my first song. I say from the age of 5 because I was making up songs beforehand, but I knew how to write at the age of 5. So I wrote my first official pen to paper song when I was 5, and from there just wrote prolifically, because I needed to find some way to feel validated, feel seen, feel heard, feel connected. And that sort of has transformed into present day, 5 was a few years ago. So now in 2022, I have now got a history of education behind me, a history as a youth empowerment coach with the YMCA, Chimney Corners Camp for Girls, which is an affiliated YMCA camp, and then Nature's Classroom, which is an outdoor science education facility across the east coast of the States. So I come from this background, and 2020 happened, and I was like, you know what? I love youth work. Empowering the next generation is really important to me, and we might have time to go into that later. But what if we could combine education, youth work, and music together to deliver something that is digestible for young people to lean into, especially given how different our kids are these days and how different the world is these days. The age of
Absolutely.
technology is real. So we can't necessarily do therapy in the traditional ways. Let's find some more creative, up-to-date, fun, funky ways that we can help young people. And who knows, maybe the songs that they write will end up on TikTok. The options are endless. But it's just that's where I'm at right now. Mm-hmm.
That sounds an incredible journey from where you are, and just 5. Wow. I'm just trying to think back what I did when I was 5, and I can't even remember.
I was not normal. I'm still not normal, but at the age of 5, I don't know.
But I hate the term normal, to be fairly honest. I really don't like it, because when you were talking about when you were younger and you felt like you didn't fit in, you just wanted to be seen and be heard and all that, I could really relate to that, because I obviously felt similar, but in a different situation. And whilst I wasn't writing songs, I was literally translating songs from English to German so I could understand what was going on. And that then led me into writing a little bit of poetry or short stories. So that is such a great outlet if you are not the type of person that either can say or express yourself, or, there's reasons why you just don't do it or can't do it. So that's why I can relate to that. Absolutely. And it has helped me so much as a young person and a teenager. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say, don't know how the ways to express yourself, because I have found a lot of the young people I work with do struggle with self-expression and struggle with communication. And that is symptomatic, I think, of social media, of texting, of, the world we live in these days. We have developed a world that is difficult for young people to express themselves. However, and this was something that I actually experimented with back when I was teaching at Te Wānanga o Aotearoa, which is a tertiary institute back in New Zealand. One of the things that music does to our brains is it allows us to cognitively tap into parts of our brain that might not otherwise be stimulated in the same way that we would if we were just having a conversation. So what I mean is, at this tertiary institute that I was teaching at, a lot of our students had never written an essay before. Okay, cool. Don't write me an essay then. Write me a rap, a 4-minute, 5-minute rap song about your research paper. And that way they were able to, they have the words, they have the vocabulary, they have the ways to express themselves. It's just not as tedious as writing an essay. Writing a rap is so much more fun. Writing a song is so much more stimulating, right? So by allowing them to write their research into bars, they were able to sort of recall information, express that information. And it's the same way with feelings. It's the same way with emotions. Being able to tap into those scary parts of yourself creatively, gives them a way to access them, those feelings and emotions and ideas and thoughts in a way that isn't as confrontational or as intimidating, but also just helps your brain to be like, oh, it's okay. We can say this because it's a song, not a conversation.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
It's weird. But I love it.
But
I
in a
thrive
good way.
No, it's
But in a
perfect.
good, yeah, absolutely. If you can express yourself in a way like that, with, and I'm already thinking outside, like if you can do that, hopefully it will help them feel less frustrated and angry, and then that could escalate into physical things that you don't want anyone, not if you're a teenager or an adult, to go down that road where you are so frustrated or upset with your life that you go out and do physical things to yourself or other people.
And that's exactly it. That's exactly it. Because your mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, and social health are so interconnected. When you are feeling misunderstood or misrepresented, or just I don't know, less than, that can definitely manifest itself in a way of being depressed, suicidal, aggressive, And so by giving young people an opportunity, an outlet to express themselves before it gets to that point, that's when shifts can happen. That's when, people start to feel that validation. They start to build that self-love and build that resiliency that will help them to come back from the edge. And and I'm not saying that this is the answer all pill that's going to help solve the world's problems. Of course not. And some of my clients have certainly still gone to see a therapist, but then after the therapy session, with their minds swimming in ideas and thoughts and emotions and new concepts, and I've just vomited my truth to a stranger, but I've got nothing to show for it. If they write that into a song, it's can you imagine? Remember, like, those affirmations you used to say to yourself in the mornings, or that song that you used to sing to yourself at the top of your lungs, that helped you feel on top of the world? Imagine if that song was your song that you wrote. And so instead of singing, I don't know, I Need a Hero by Bonnie Raitt, instead you're saying, I'm living proof that love wins. And you're singing that to yourself and tricking yourself into thinking, no, actually I am. And that trick becomes truth.
Oh, got goosebumps.
Every time, well, that's good. I'm glad you have goosebumps. Every time I sing Living Proof to myself, it's a reminder, hey, Emma, you might be feeling down in the dumps today, but
there you are.
You're living proof that love wins. You're still here. You've survived 100% of your bad days so far. Let's keep it going.
Powerful stuff.
Thank you.
Now, my question to you is, and I love all that, and I can see that, especially when you just explain after like a therapy session, then writing it down, I can just see that being so beautiful and perfect way to probably end that whole process for that moment. I'm now wondering though, how do you write a song? I mean, obviously there's a bit of a longer process, but just any tips how we can, like, if I want to hop off this recording and go, I just feel like I want to express myself, how can I just write down things?
Great question. So I should preface, my mother is a counselor. I've done a few counseling papers when it came to doing my teaching qualification. So a lot of my teaching practices are rooted in therapy. So my approach to songwriting is also very rooted in therapeutic practices.
Okay.
Right? So there are many ways to write a song. One of the ways is something I affectionately call word vomit, which is not everybody's favorite terminology, but I'm sticking to it because it makes people laugh a little bit and feel a little bit uncomfortable, and that's okay. So, because, comfort zone, awesome stuff. So one of the very first things that exercises that young people and I do when we first start working together is the word vomit process. So that's literally, I'll turn some music on. Generally speaking, that'll be classical music or whole tones, which is a genre of music based in a specific frequency. And then whilst listening to said music, I will set the timer for 3 to 5 minutes. During that 3 to 5 minutes, you write anything and everything that comes to your mind. It can be, I don't know, this is weird, I feel awkward, the world's on fire 10 times. It could be, what you did for homework last night. It could be anything, right? Write anything and everything that comes to mind for 3 to 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
After that process, you then analyze your writing. And you'll notice there are themes, there are key phrases, there are key words that shine through. Often, past teenage clients that I've had, that'll be like, oh, there's a very clear theme of a breakup, or a very clear theme of anger at a certain parent, or guilt, or frustration for exams, or overwhelm, or stress, or, whatever that theme is. We then identify that key theme and we implement, I'm sure you've heard of this anagram of the KISS method, the Keep It Simple Superstar method.
Mm-hmm.
So we take whatever theme, let's say it's frustration with school, and we build on that. We brainstorm, we dig deeper. What do you mean by that? Sticking only to that frustration of school. And then from there, we can take it in a number of ways. Are we talking to school? Are we talking to frustration? Are we talking to ourselves? Are we talking to your parents about how they treat you when it comes to school? Like, very, very clear. What is the actual message that you're wanting to say here? And then we'll start to brainstorm. Okay, there's very clear lines that are shining through. That becomes your verse. That becomes your chorus. The last line of the chorus is what I call the punch to the feelings. What are you trying to say? If nothing else, if you had like 5 words to say to school, what would those 5 words be? And often those are the 5 words that either make the audience cry or make the writer cry. It makes them feel something, So like when I wrote Living Proof That Love Wins, I didn't know that was what I wanted that song to be about. But as soon as I, wrote the first 4 lines of the chorus, I was like, oh, shoot, I'm living proof that love wins. That hits me in the feelings.
Mm-hmm.
That makes me feel some type of way, right? So what would you say to school to make school feel some type of way? Or what would you say to your mom and dad about school to make them feel some type of way, right? Cool. And then from that, now we've not only gotten out of our heads onto paper, oh, this is what, this is every frustration, every trouble point or, difficulty I've been trying to express over the last 5-6 months. But if nothing else, mom and dad, this is what I want you to know.
Powerful. And
then the bridge is not just a punch to the feelings. Now we are what we call finishing the fight. And it's just slog after slog after slog of like, by the way, and this, and also this, and also this.
Mm-hmm.
Punch to the feelings. This is how, this is my song of truth. And I'm using the example of school because it's, it's relatively, not as emotional as some people, but I've had clients write songs to their anxiety, and let's be real, in 2020 and to present day, we are seeing a huge influx of anxiety within our teenagers. We're seeing a huge influx of overwhelm, depression, suicidal ideations, with our young people. And the World Health Organization guesstimated in August of 2020, it was going to take 10 years minimum for adults to emotionally recover from the pandemic. Adults had their shit together far more than teenagers do. So I can only hazard to guess in August of 2020 how much longer it was going to take teenagers to recover from the PTSD. Add to that, that was a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
How much worse is it now? So how can we find ways for teenagers to step into their truth, find the words, find their bravery to be vulnerable, find the words to express that in a way that doesn't feel confrontational, scary, too vulnerable, but still truthful, still authentic?
I think that could be a mic drop moment. We can just stop here.
Don't drop a microphone, Brigitte. Microphones are really expensive.
It's a sort of imaginative one then.
Okay, yeah.
We'll go with that.
I'll drop a paperclip. There we go.
Yeah, I've got a pen. There you go.
There we go. Oh yeah. Okay. My pen. It just bounced. Okay.
Oh God. Yeah. That was something I've had chats about with my hubby a lot about around the mental health thing that this whole pandemic will have on everybody, but especially younger people, just trying to find their way in life. I mean, just imagine being like, let's say 16 or something, 18. This is sort of when I sort of think back, that's the time when I started exploring life. I started to branch out and spread my wings. And then you get shut down. I mean, that must be horrendous, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm glad people like you exist. And I see them pop up more and more, which is awesome to see. Because it's really needed right now. And like you said, us adults, we can probably navigate it a little bit better. We probably know where to turn to as well.
Yeah.
But for younger people, I think there's, So I'm glad you do what you do.
Thank you. I mean, it's wild because, I was born before the internet. I was a kid when the internet became a thing, and I'm sure you were born before the internet. So it's like, remembering when you were 16, I can't even begin to imagine, like, real talk, when I was a teenager, my friends were not happy, healthy humans, right? The social media was only just beginning with Bebo and MySpace. And, that was bad enough. Imagine now how much worse it was, like on top of the hormonal changes, on top of the body's changing, on top of the emotional overwhelm, on top of the mental, trying to navigate your changing thoughts and parental concerns and so on and so forth. And now you're isolated as well. Craziness.
Complete nightmare. You probably feel like I just thought about, I don't know why that came to mind. And this is actually not a song, it's a movie, but for some reason that image just came to mind. No, Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
When they get sucked in the bed by this scary.
Yeah.
That image just came to mind because they're probably lying on bed thinking they're just gonna get sucked into the bed, and how the hell am I gonna get out of this nightmare? That's
right.
Sort of, yeah.
Welcome to depression.
Yeah. So
yeah. Sure.
So if my question now is, if we have someone that's in their teens or even in their early 20s, I suppose that's still a difficult time. And they haven't got anyone like you around. Obviously now they do because they know about you. But if they don't have that, what would you tell them to do? What advice would you have for them to say?
One of the first things I would recommend is recognizing that you are not your emotions. And you are not your actions. It's so easy for us to think to ourselves, I have failed at something, therefore I'm a failure. Separating yourself from your emotions, separating yourself from your actions is very key. You're not a failure. You are not depression. You suffer from, or you suffer from anxiety, but you are not that. Identity is a huge first step, right?
Yep.
Once you have made that distinction, then you can give yourself permission to start exploring those emotions, exploring those actions, and exploring the emotions that are associated with the actions. So that's when journaling or word vomit can come into play. And then,
Absolutely.
you know, from doing that word vomit exercise, then, you know, listen to some music while you're doing the word vomit, because one of the fun things about music and songwriting in relation to one another is when you add melody or add music to lyrics, the nucleus accumbens, the amygdala, and the what is it? Nucleus accumbens, the amygdala, and another part of the brain get fired up at the same time. The word is escaping me right now. They get fired. Your brain gets fired up, and while your brain is fired up, you're actually able to cognitively reframe previously disempowering thoughts into a positive way. For example, instead of saying the words, I woke up, the sky was gray, and I wanted to give up, we can now turn that around and say, I woke up today. How blessed am I? The sky is gray, but I'm still going to live my day. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's saying the same information, but it's in a way that is less disempowering. And obviously, I'm not singing that right now because we're talking, but you know, by being able to approach this with our lyric writing, we're able to, like, melody almost gives us permission to use creative license, and that creative license, when guided correctly in a way that we can start using those words empoweringly, we can start to reshape how we want to approach those feelings, how we want to approach that those misconceptions. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the way I understand it is, one, don't feel like you're one with what you're going through and what emotions you're having. You're not one. You can separate that.
Correct.
Once you do that, you can start to explore that a bit further and use journaling with music to start that process, obviously. And what we've got to say as well is, it really depends on what you're going through. You might benefit from proper medical support as well, or health support. So I really want to make that clear, that on its own might not be what you need. So, you know, just so that people know, it's not the answer to everything. It can be, sometimes you need a little bit more. Yes.
And I remembered what the last part of the brain was. It was the cerebellum. So the amygdala, of course, it was. It's been a day.
Okay.
You know, so when the amygdala is, you know, the amygdala is stimulated, it's, you know, which is the part of our brain that's in charge of memories. The nucleus accumbens is the part of our brain that is in charge of the emotional responses to those memories, and the cerebellum is the part of the brain that is in charge of dopamine and oxytocin levels, as well as your cortisol levels. So when you're able to, you know, utilize music in a way that helps to stimulate all parts of the brain, it helps you to, you know, to recreate and rewrite those memories. But you're absolutely correct. I'm not saying that writing a song is going to be the be all and end all. It can be for some. It can be enough for some, especially when it comes to writing songs with coaching. When I say that, I'm not saying a songwriting coach. I'm talking about with a life coach, a mental health worker, a therapist, a counselor, and then utilizing the lessons from that counseling session or with that, you know, that youth empowerment through songwriting coach to help you to cognitively shift that. Because often when we are in our own spaces, we can get stuck in the rut. We need sometimes we need somebody that will help guide us through that journey together.
Exactly. Yeah, beautiful. Wow. We've covered so much good stuff, so much beneficial things as well. And I'm really glad you shared all that, because I do feel it's super, super important, especially for our younger humans on this planet, because they have to navigate a new norm now, which is,
That's true.
yeah, who knows what's going to happen. We're still a little bit in an uncertain thing. So having someone like you around definitely is such a huge gift.
Thank you.
But I would love to know, though, a bit more from you, and not so much from the coaching side.
Sure.
You know, what kind of music do you listen to generally that kind of helps you, or gets, or you just, you know, for pleasure, or when you have, like, you know, one of those days? What kind of music do you listen to generally?
I am incredibly eclectic with my musical tastes.
Ooh.
So it really depends on who I'm around,
Mm-hmm.
and what kind of mood I'm in. I will always revert back to 90s pop if I'm in the mood to, like, you know, remember my inner child. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
I will still crank the Spice Girls. I will still crank Britney Spears, unapologetically. I'm very, I love 90s bubblegum, Return of the Mac by Mark Morrison, like all that stuff. Um, if I am feeling overwhelmed, however, I often put on jazz music or whole tones music. If I am feeling like I need to um, be more motivated, I often turn on Iron Maiden or Metallica or, like, and then in my, every now and then, especially if my partner's home, we'll put on like 90s R&B or soul music,
Mm-hmm.
just because it's got a feel good vibe, and it's, still kind of makes you feel good. But yeah, I'm very eclectic with my music. I don't listen to country music, and I don't listen to classical that much.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I mean, it just depends on my mood. It really
Yeah.
depends. Um, and often I'll turn something on and I'll realize halfway there, oh, this is not what I wanted.
Yeah.
So I'll put on Joe Cocker, or like it could be. I'm very eclectic.
Wow. Nothing wrong
So
with that.
yeah, well, that's why some people think I sound like Alanis Morissette, and some people think I sound like Khalees. So there we go. You know, it's been, I don't know. I'm very grateful for my musical knowledge, because now I can, utilize
Mm-hmm.
what I utilize
Absolutely.
my upbringing, the music I listened to as a child, to produce music that's also
Mm-hmm.
um, digestible and enjoyed by a wide range of humans. So
Beautiful.
yeah.
That sounds good. I always love when people have a really kind of broad taste in music, because that was one of the things that goes back to my growing up. My mum loved every type of music. I mean, like you said, not so much country or not so much classical, but she didn't hate it either. It was just not her type. But apart from that, we have traditional Swiss music. We like the Alphorn and all that kind of stuff, and the
Mhm.
yodeling. So, and I grew up like that. But then, you go to school and it's like, there's like camp heavy metal, there's camp rock, there's camp pop, and you're like, well, I like everything. Where do I go and stand then? And that
I
just blows my mind that, people are so fixed on one genre.
This is why I never fit in school. I literally, I would, apart from the fact that I've had 10 brain surgeries, apart from the fact that, I've also experienced multitudes of other traumas in high school
Mm-hmm.
that most kids in my year did not experience, thankfully for them. But, I would hang out with the people that liked the, Metallica or Iron Maiden, and then I would go and hang out with people who were more into Christian music and, you
Mm-hmm.
know, the Bible. And then I'd hang out with people who were more into, I don't know, ridiculous pop stuff. Like, you know, I call myself the floater.
Don't say
Terrible term, but it made me giggle, so whatever.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, oh dear. Okay, well, before we wrap this up, there's always one question to ask, and it's always so super interesting to see how people go, oh, it feels like it stops them in their tracks because they never really consciously thought about it, majority of them. Some of them, they're very clear on it. But my question is, if you had to describe your life and or business right now by using a song, which one would it be and why?
If I were to describe my life and business as a song, which one would it be and why? Can I be my own song? Is that cheating?
No,
Okay.
share away.
It would be The Wolf I Feed, which is a song that I released on my 2021 album Born in Crisis. Because the song was inspired by the Native American tale of the two wolves that live inside of us. One is the wolf of anger, despair, bigotry, hurt, all things negative. The second is the wolf of love, compassion, peace, all things positive. And the tale tells of a grandfather talking to his grandson about these two wolves, at which point the grandson asks the grandfather, well, which wolf is winning if you've got these two wolves inside of you always fighting? The grandfather says, whichever wolf you feed.
Yep.
And to me, in my life and in my business, I constantly am trying to encourage those around me, encourage my clients, empower my clients, and do it myself to constantly feed that wolf of positivity, that wolf of resilience, that wolf of love. And yeah, in life and in work. So that would be my theme song.
Beautiful. And I'll try to put the link to that song in the episode description so people can go and check it out.
Please do. If they want a song that they've already know, then I would say Wasted Years by Iron Maiden is the first thing that pops to mind.
Right. I would have to go and listen to that one because I haven't listened to Iron Maiden in a very long time.
Well, Bruce Dickinson, did you know, is an operatically trained singer. He trained in opera as a vocalist. So that's why he can sing for hours and hours and hours on end without stopping. And he's also obviously a pilot. So he flies the plane that Iron Maiden travels around in when they're on tour. I have so much respect for Iron Maiden. I love them.
It's amazing what you find out about a lot of artists that, you sort of think, oh, they are just a singer, but then you sort of, hear what they do as well without digging too much into their personal life, because I, try not to. That's not my kind of thing. But sometimes it's interesting to see what other skills they have, and it kind of gives you hope that, I might have more skills than I think I have at this moment in time. So huge encouragement.
Well, if you're looking for a sign to that question, you definitely do have more skills than you realize. I'm just going to tell you now. I barely know you, but I'm going to tell you that now. If only we could understand how powerful we are. We have no idea.
Yeah. I know I don't. Not yet. I'll admit that. Oh dear. Well, I think we're gonna close this episode off. We've had it was awesome. I really enjoyed it. So thank you for coming on. And everything that people need to know about you, I'm going to pop that in the episode description. So please, anyone, go and check it out. Get in touch with Emma if you feel called to do so, because there's a reason, obviously, you feel that way. And otherwise, thanks again, Emma. Any final words? I think we've covered a hell of a lot.
I guess my only thing that I would want to add is, we live in a world that is constantly telling us who to be and how to act and how to show up. Don't be afraid to write your own song. You don't need to listen and sing along to other people's lyrics. You know, whether you're young, old, in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, it doesn't matter. You know, we all hold the pens to our lives. Don't be afraid to write it yourself.
Oh, gosh, I think that's it. We're stopping right here. That's it.
Done.
Beautiful.
Finito.
Done. Let's get out of here.
Fox pen.
And again, any pens left? Right. Okay. Well, I'm going to finish off here. B-siders, thank you so much for joining us on this episode. And I hope to speak to you and not hear you. You will hear me. Got to get that right on the next episode. Until then, keep on dancing and keep on rocking. And I'll speak to you very soon. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Bye.